at Waco Convention Center at 100 Washington Avenue. Could they hear me? Can y'all hear me in the back? Yeah, everything's, okay, cool. Now you can? Okay. The first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of our July 14th, 2026 special call business session meeting and July 9th, 2026 subcommittee meeting. Are there any changes or additions? Seeing none, they stand approved as written. The next item on the agenda is annexation item 1, ANX 2601. What is the report and recommendation of the city staff?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, before I get into the individual items for annexation, I'm going to review just a few key facts about annexations in general, in particular city-owned annexations. We did send out an FAQ sheet to those within the 200-foot buffer based on questions that we were receiving. So I'm just going to highlight a few of those here. So purpose of annexing city-owned property is that it incorporates it into the city limits. It provides consistency in planning, zoning, and municipal services such as police, fire, as well as administration of that property. And it also supports long-term management of city facilities plan. Key facts about annexation, only the city-owned property and the public right-of-way is included in these city-initiated zone changes. State law does not allow cities to do annexation unless it is a voluntary annexation by the property owner. So these annexations do not include any private property. And then the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction does not expand based off of these annexations either. That also is now within the state purview as well, to where we cannot expand our ETJ based on annexations anymore. And then also no changes to neighboring properties as far as rules, regulations, or imposing any other city requirements on anything that's outside of the annexation area. So just to summarize, just a quick chart, what does the annexation mean for nearby property owners? Will it change property taxes? No. Utility service? No, everything will stay as is with the current providers. Will there be any zoning restrictions on nearby properties or changes of use required? No. Addressing won't change. Existing emergency services will not change. And then, again, future annexation of private property, there are no plans or intent because, again, those have to be voluntary annexation, voluntary petitions for annexation. And then, again, the city's authority over private property that does not change as it is right now, only the property being annexed. So with that, I'll get into details on our first request. So, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a city-initiated voluntary annexation of approximately 153.7 acres of city-owned property located along the north side of Buster Chatham Road, adjacent to the Brazos River, together with portions of the adjoining rights-of-way. The property is currently located within the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction and is contiguous to the existing city limits. The Planning Commission's main responsibility for annexation is the designation of land use and zoning on the property. Outside of that, the state is silent on Planning Commission being even involved in annexations. It's typically a city council decision, but we will be also providing that recommendation to them along with the appropriate zoning and land use designations. And I'll go into these in a little more detail, but the request also includes the proposed land use, master land use designation as rural residential, and proposed zoning as RE single family residence. And I'll outline those in a little more detail as well. So the property, as I mentioned, is located adjacent or near Council District 5 and near the North Lake Waco Neighborhood Association. The surrounding area remains predominantly agricultural, rural residential, as well as open space. The map is a little bit hard to see because of the blue coloring. There's my mouse. The dark line that's next to this blue is the city limits line as it exists right now. So city limits does come up the river to this location. So this property is contiguous to the existing city limits. And here is a zoomed in version. Again, the Brazos River corridor and floodplain being in proximity to the river are significant features of this property. Again, the city already owns both of these properties. Annexation brings city-owned land inside city limits to establish zoning, land use designation, municipal regulatory authority, and consistency with future planning efforts. It does not approve development or construction of any future project. The proposed future land use designation is rural residential. Here's that property. The rural residential land use designation encourages large lots with 1 acre minimum lot size, agricultural use, low-density development, and preserves rural character. For the zoning, here is the existing zoning. R1B is what is zoned along the nearby city property or property within the city. The proposed zoning, however, is RE, which is actually one of our single-family residential districts. However, it is the only zoning district supported by the rural residential land use designation. It has our lowest density of all of our residential zoning districts, and it is intended to preserve the semi-rural character while allowing compatible residential and agricultural uses. The surrounding area does already exhibit rural residential and agricultural characteristics, so the RE zoning is consistent with the existing development patterns. It does not introduce urban scale development. Included in your packet is a survey for the tracks. There is a portion of the Buster Chatham Road as well as a portion of Riverbend Road. The state law requires that if a city annexes property adjacent to a county-maintained right-of-way, the city needs to annex that property and maintain those roads moving forward. So as you'll see on the other ones, that's different between county roads and TxDOT roads, and I'll get into those on the other 2 zoning applications. So 25 notices were mailed. We did receive 4 written responses, and they are included in your packet. 1 additional response was emailed this afternoon. I believe that's printed out at your location up there. And then, like I mentioned already, we also mailed a frequently asked questions handout to help address any questions that were received. But I'll go over some of those highlights here specific to this annexation request. So planning for future infrastructure. What is this annexation? How is this annexation tied into that? So the city purchased the property in 2023 for a potential future wastewater treatment plant. Construction will occur only when growth and wastewater capacity require it. Current planning anticipates design of approximately 2030 and potential operation approximately 2034. Again, those are just approximate dates. It's all based on timing and capacity for that. Annexation of the property does not change the TCEQ permitting process or public notification requirements for the development of a future wastewater treatment plant. Development of a wastewater treatment plant is not contingent upon the property being located inside the city limits. The city just simply wants city-owned property to be within the city of Waco boundary so that we can have governance over that property that's within the city and that the city owns. So Planning Services does recommend approval of the voluntary request for annexation, the designation of rural residential as the comprehensive plan land use designation, the zoning of RE Single Family Residence District, and extending the boundary limits of the city of Waco to include said territory. Staff does recognize that there has been significant public interest regarding this property. Again, this request is for the annexation of the land into the boundaries of the city. It does not authorize construction of any future facilities. Also to note, we tried to catch everybody as they came in for speaker cards. It was really difficult to get everybody. So if you did not fill out a speaker card, we do have staff members, Isaac's in the back there. Feel free to still come up and speak, and then we'll catch your information on the way out. Thank you.
Is there anyone else present who would like to speak in favor of this item? Is anyone else present that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Just come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and 3 minutes is the time limit.
I appreciate you guys. My name's Adam Bender. I'm here representing Trinity RC Properties. Be pretty brief with you. We just oppose the annexation based on the future planning for the wastewater system. We want to put it on the record that, hey, we see that there's going to be damages that come to that, to the supporting and surrounding property owners right there, specifically the tracts that are next to it with the planned use. We just ask that you consider, if it's going to be annexed, that it be kept to the rural residential use and not considered for anything else, maybe some sort of restriction in your annexation. So that's about what we have for you. I think we've got submitted comments in the record, so I'll leave it at that.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Anyone else present that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Y'all can line up if you'd like. Thanks for coming out. Should be exciting. Okay, that's probably my fault. How about now? Better? Oh, you can't hear that. Okay. Speakers, if y'all could speak to the microphone closely.
My name is Gina Mon. I live at 2353 Buster Chatham Road, right across the street from this property that was purchased in 2023. I don't really want to get into the stupidity of dumping wastewater upstream from our city right now, but what I want to discuss is the reasons that were given were consistency of the services. If we could go back to your slide and show where the property is located. Back up, there. So I don't see any city services anywhere close to that property. I guess you'll be spending our city money to haul services over there. What are you gonna do for services? It makes no sense that this city doesn't have any money to fix things and take care of the residents. And we pay taxes, and now you're gonna say that we need to go ahead and incorporate this. There wasn't one reason given for annexing this, not one. I mean, that was valid. You're saying that you're gonna leave it as rural residential. Well, it's already rural residential. We're not gonna have any services that are gonna be brought to it. It's not gonna help with any kind of traffic. It doesn't serve the city of Waco at all, or its residents or taxpayers in the least, for you to annex this at this point. I can understand that if you have gone through the process of the TCEQ process and gone through everything else, and you feel that we could afford to provide water for more people moving in here and more developments, and we needed that wastewater, then at that point, I think that it would make sense to go ahead and annex it. But at this point right now, there's nothing that you've stated that gives us any reason for us to go through this process, except for you just have it as next on the list. It is not appropriate for you to annex something that doesn't have any access to it whatsoever. And, you know, okay, so now we call the police department instead of the sheriff. And how close are we to the police department if there's something going on over there? You failed to provide for your citizens, and you failed to see the need for other infrastructure that is warranted. Putting these things up for developers who are not footing their own bill in order for them to come and plunk down a bunch of houses when you're actually vacating different areas and abandoning different areas that are already served by infrastructure. We have solid infrastructure in this town that desperately needs improvement and desperately needs upgrades. You've got a sewer line that connects right there at Cameron that goes all the way down to our wastewater treatment center, but you're gonna spend millions and millions. I have time from my husband's card as well, Tracy Mon. You're gonna spend millions and millions of dollars to go ahead and run lines across property that isn't even city property at this point. And so all of us, as citizens of McLennan County, are tired of our city government, and I know many of you are new to it, but we have traditionally used our city taxpayer money to fund and ease development for future developers, where if you go to other cities, you see that the development costs are borne by the developers themselves. They're not borne by the city taxpayers. What you could do with this property, and what would make sense for the city of Waco, is for you guys to sell it as you sold the one tract that used to belong to Mr. Hayes, and use that money to upgrade some of the infrastructure so every time we have a huge rain, we don't dump raw sewage all over our other wastewater treatment centers.
Can I get you to pause just real quick? I want a legal check. Is your husband here?
He's right there.
And you filled out a card?
Yes, he did.
Would you like your time that you signed up for?
Do you think he's gonna say yes?
I think it's appropriate that we ask if you filled out a card.
I think he would have spoke up, sir. He could have.
Well, we do have some rules we need to follow here.
Yes, and one of the rules is that people can donate their time.
Well,
Yes, I'm not.
I've got a city attorney right here. I just want to make sure
Well,
we're
that's exciting.
doing things the right way. Can we donate the time to a spouse?
Usually, we allow for additional time if it's 10 or more speakers.
Okay, do I have 10 speakers wanting me to go on? No? Yes. Okay,
If those 10 speakers do donate their time, then those speakers cannot speak.
but you don't even have all the cards. You were opening it up for the cards. I was trying to grab an extra 3 minutes. If that is very scary to you, then I'll go ahead and step down now.
We're just trying to be appropriate and follow the right rules. And so,
You are not trying to be appropriate with your rules for me to speak for an extra 3 minutes. I've sat in these meetings enough to know that there's nothing wrong with that. If somebody else has signed a card and signed up appropriately and gone through all the channels, I'm not doing anything obnoxious or wrong or outside the ruls. So you
Mr.
can,
Chair, we started the time over, so I think we can allow her, she's got 2 minutes left, so, of her husband's time, so let's just let her use that 2 minutes.
it's okay.
I hit pause, so whenever you're ready to go, I'll hit start again. You got 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I was just trying to emphasize the fact that in other cities, the developers are the ones who bear the cost. And what would make sense for the city of Waco's citizens who are paying for this property is to actually have the property sold and have the infrastructure that we've already invested in greatly. Those lines that we already have carry all the way out to all these new developments where you're putting in 1,900 homes. This is not going to be able to serve those developments that are currently online and on board. And so what you're doing is you're setting it up for developers to come out into an area that is serviced only by 933, which is a county road. And there are no other areas out there that are adjacent to or close to this that are going to be high residential density. This property itself is not suited even for residential, the residential density that you're suggesting. And that also negates one of the points that you made. It's in the floodplain. You pay millions of dollars for studies that you have never referred to, nor have you ever put those slides up showing how much of this is in the floodplain. And to install a wastewater treatment site inside a floodplain is so derelict and so wasteful of our money and of our beautiful river that we've all spent millions of dollars to beautify. So I may have 37 seconds, and I'll just let it go at that. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Nancy Lacey. I live at 1102 Old Steinbach Road in the city of Waco. I'm a taxpayer. I cannot believe that we are having to keep fighting this when having a wastewater treatment plant north of your city that will defile the only river that we have left that hasn't been defiled. The Lake Waco water system is defiled because y'all dump wastewater in it all the time. Every time we have a flood or rain or malfunction, millions of gallons of sewage dumps into Lake Waco. That water's gross. We cannot afford to defile the last bit of water that comes through our city. I live obviously in the city of Waco, so Buster Chatham doesn't affect me, but as a taxpayer, I think that we need to be better neighbors, and we certainly don't need to be shipping wastewater from one community, which is in China Spring, over to another community that doesn't have voting privileges. I get to vote for our city council. These people don't get to vote for the city council. I don't think it's fair. And I cannot believe that we are going to annex a property that is so far away from our city that we can't service. And we can't even take care of our own city streets, water lines, infrastructure that's, with everybody moving to Waco, which I'm very grateful that people are moving to Waco. But we've got to be able to catch up after years of neglect, and we don't need to be adding more property way far away from our city just so we can force a wastewater treatment plant that's going to be fought. We're going to fight because I will not have that wastewater come down the Brazos River in front of my house and down in front of, our development in Waco, Texas, where we're trying to promote growth instead of run people off because of an algae bloom when we have malfunctions. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Gail Landpeed. Is that okay? Sound okay? My parents,
Could you just say your address for the record, please?
oh, sorry, 1848 Beverly Cox Drive. And our property, my father and mother bought it in 1986, and it borders the east side of that property. Our whole property goes all along shares the fence line. And my dad started planting the organic orchard in 1986, and it's right next to all of that. So I have a lot of emotional attachment to this issue. The land was initially purchased by the city for the purpose of building a sewage treatment plant with a pipe going under the Brazos River from China Spring, taking their sewage over there. And so it seems a little duplicitous to call it a residential now when the whole purpose was originally, and probably still is, sewage treatment plant. So the problem with that is, yes, it's in a floodplain, that's a big problem. But looking back over the last 10 years, there have been many problems with sewage treatment plants here in Waco. And it can be due to a lift problem, mechanical failure, sometimes heavy rains, which would be a big factor here. And all of those have caused, in some cases, I've got a list of them, a lot of raw sewage or untreated wastewater going into either the Brazos or Lake Waco. And if you look back historically, there are quite a few, and they've been serious. The most recent was 120 gallons released because of a lift problem failure. It wasn't into the Brazos River, but it was still an environmental cleanup ongoing. That was in July 19th, very recent. So those kinds of problems are inherent in sewage wastewater treatment. I don't care how much an engineer said this is going to be clean, effluent. It's right next to our property. We have river frontage also, right next to probably where that pipe is planned. But those forever chemicals are still there. And just for example, the Iron Man is now in Waco. They find out about a sewage treatment plant upstream from Waco? I don't know. You know, the city has done an incredible job of beautifying the river, making it an economic engine. Okay. Could I have your time, Caleb? Okay. You filled out a form, right? So is that okay?
Well,
Yeah, can you give us your name and address for the record, please, that you're giving up your time?
Caleb Scarborough, P.O. Box, 1997, Texas 76703.
Is that okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So, yeah, all the beautification problems along the river, or projects along the river have been amazing. And so from Cameron Park on, from where that is planned, it's only 6 miles to downtown Waco. And, I mean, you think about everything along the river, from Cameron Park events all the way down. People are not going to be happy with that. And just for an example, I'll give you is, I don't think city leaders in San Antonio, for example, would okay a sewage treatment plant upriver from the San Antonio River going through San Antonio's Riverwalk. I mean, do you think they would? I don't think so. So all of the effort and time that is being put into beautification of this economic engine and beauty for the citizens of Waco along the river, I just think it's completely negated by this plan. And personally, I find it very duplicitous to call this a voluntary annexation and to call it a residential plan. It's not a residential plan. It's for a sewage treatment plant. And so that just feels wrong to me to use that wording, and call it that for the purpose of annexation. But anyway, thank you for your time.
thank you.
I'm Mark Blandpeed. I live at the same address as Gail. She's my wife, 1848 Beverly Cox. I'm going to address the city's plans as well for the property, and focusing first on how it affects our family's livelihood, and then on to how it affects the neighborhood and the wider Waco area. So our pecan orchard is right above that the top dashed line. It's actually the north side. Our property goes from Beverly Cox down to the river, so it's on the top side of that square. And we have an agricultural well that is 35 feet from that property line. And it is registered with the Southern Trinity Groundwater. And a portion of this property, well, let's see, a portion of this property that you're proposing to annex is a watershed for our property. A lot of that property drains directly into our orchard. Our orchard is an organically grown orchard, and if any contaminants come into that orchard or into the well, I can no longer sell my pecans as organically grown. So this is a threat to our livelihood. I also operate a drone. I've operated for many years to check on my goats. We have goats and pecans. And because it's a long way from the house down to the river, and I use it to go down and check on the goats, see if any heads are stuck in the fence or whatnot. So it's very critical for us to continue to use that drone, and I know that operation of drones around sewage treatment plants is an issue that could come up. Secondly, this site is entirely wrong for a sewage treatment plant. Unlike the bull-eyed plant that you're patterning after, evidently, this location is jammed inside of a residential area. The other bull-eyed is not. It's very rural and commercial. There's a roofing company kind of close by, but anyway, there are dozens of homes around this perimeter that are within a few hundred feet of that property. So consequently, the buffer zone that you have is just not adequate. So, and third, the city's lack of transparency is alarming. When this property was purchased, the surveyors entered our property under false pretenses, and the sellers of the property did not even know who the buyer was until the closing. Johnny, can I have your time?
No, we got to stop doing this.
All right,
We got to finish up time. If you want to come up and speak, then you can use your time. But your
Okay.
time's up, sir.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Ready?
Mr. Chair, the speaker at the podium forfeited his time earlier.
Yes, I think you did donate your time to your spouse. Did you had a question for the previous?
Do I need to wait until they all make their comments before I ask you a question, Laura, about the previous speaker's property, and then just an explanation about the map that we have up here? I can wait. I wrote it down if I have to, or can I just ask him now? Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Ralph Getman. I live at 2022 Washington Lane. My property is directly across from the proposed annexation. Just to keep things real, that property was purchased by the city under a veil of secrecy for the purpose of a wastewater treatment plant. Obviously, we are against that proposed wastewater treatment plant. I have a problem with the annexation today because it's being presented as rural residential large lots, when in fact we all know what that's gonna be. So I just think you owe the citizens of McLennan County and the city of Waco transparency. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Nancy Andre. I live across from this property immediately. My property is affected by this heavily. In 2023, when the wastewater treatment plant was proposed to go in, myself and a couple of other neighbors organized a big meeting in our area, Buster Chatham Road and the surrounding areas. We had 90 families come who were really upset, very upset about the wastewater treatment plant. And we went out to Lorena and visited out there and saw what they had. And we do not want the wastewater treatment plant. Our properties are depreciating. The land that you bought is depreciating. There have been people leaving. Along this river, there are prestigious estates that are paying a lot of property tax to you all, to this Waco. And you are depreciating, these people are leaving, and you're trading it for 1 acre plots with people that this property is gonna go down. You are making a grave mistake. And when this happened, Linda Tyree told me that there were soft inquiries, and they knew that this treatment plant was going in, but they didn't want us to know. And then we found out. And I think that is not the way that neighbors treat neighbors. We are good people out there, and we are being sabotaged and and our property values are being destroyed. And if none of you that I know of have come to my backyard, come stand on my retaining wall and look at the river and say, if this was your house, would you do this? Would you want it? You're doing that to all of these people out here. They have beautiful homes, beautiful estates. They pay high taxes, and nobody's come to look. We got a TV station to come out and film. Bless their heart, the girls that did a good job, but they filmed, the filming they did for the TV program was terrible. It didn't show the riverfront. We work hard on our riverfronts. We spend a lot of money on our riverfronts every year. Isn't that right? Clap. And this is outrageous. We lost one of our best neighbors, a geologist who lived right next door to these people where the problem is. And he worked hours and hours and hours on this wonderful presentation. I'm done, I guess. A wonderful presentation that only a few of you saw. And he's gone. He's sold. He's gone. I'm sorry. It's just outrageous. It's just horrible. Come see me. You're invited to come to my house, 2155 Buster Chatham Road. Walk down and look at the river and see if you would do that to your best friend or neighbor.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Janet Price. My address is 3715 River Bend Lane. I live about a quarter of a mile from Buster Chatham. One of the things that I have not heard tonight has to do, first of all, with the terminology, and I'm sure that it's all legalese, but you're calling this a voluntary annexation. Do you guys volunteer to have it annexed? No. So anyway, that's just a little point. What I've not heard discussed tonight is the potential for having large 1-acre lots for housing. There's 150 acres there. So let's say that you did 100 acres, maybe 120, and you sold them off in 1-acre lots. My question then is, first of all, what about the water usage? Chalk Bluff Water supplies us. There's been a lot of growth along Buster Chatham. I live at the end of the water line almost. I don't know that Chalk Bluff Water can serve 100 or 150 extra families. And also, all of our homes out there have septic systems. So what's the effect of adding 100 to 150 more septic systems on all of the agricultural wells that several of us depend on for our livestock? I don't hear any consideration of that. I also don't hear any plans for Buster Chatham itself. Now, somebody said that where the city, owns the property adjacent, they're responsible for taking care of the road. Buster Chatham is 2.5 miles long. And if you are taking wastewater, solid waste up and down that road in those big trucks, the road will not stand it. It is already very narrow and very bumpy. If you have 2 pickup trucks that want to pass each other on that road, somebody's got their tires in the ditch. It's just not wide enough. So you're going to have to redo and totally remake an entire 2.5 miles of that road, not just the however many mile you have annexed to it. And the last question is, what about the burden on the school system? It's like, we have 100 families. How many of them have kids? What's that going to do to the Connolly school system? How much is the city of Waco going to support the Connolly school system. So if you could take those into consideration, I would be very grateful. Thank you.
My name is Marvin Roach. I live at 862 Buster Chatham, which is up at the top, not adjacent to the excess proposed annexation property. It's at the corner. I've got 40 acres at the corner of Buster Chatham and Beverly Cox Drive. There's a lot of nice houses down there on the river that this proposal is potentially devaluing to the benefit of a lot of nice homes out in China Spring. So I'll just say that. The previous lady did speak to my primary concern, is the access for construction. The city is only proposing to take responsibility for the last third of Buster Chatham Road, but yet they're going to burden the entire stretch from 933 to the job site with the trucks and the traffic and everything during the construction. In fact, the largest burden is going to be on the section that's not going to be Waco's responsibility. So my question is, have you talked with Will Jones about that? Because that's Precinct 3, and McLennan County is going to be required and expected, the way I see it, to take care of the damage and the burden that falls on that. And is the county committed to do that? And all these other homes, not just adjacent to the annexation, but you see all of those are all homes and streets and stuff. And we're all on septic systems, and we all depend on the sheriff to come service us and the Chalk Bluff Water Supply that does a pretty good job most all the time. And the sheriffs come when they can, but they're undermanned, y'all know that. The way I see this is Waco needs to dump the sewer from China Spring. So they say, well, here's this place over here. It's a good site. Let's pick it. But let's not provide any more services to the people whose land we're occupying other than the bare minimum. I mean, if they want to do something, come on out here, make a proposal, benefit the Chalk Bluff community instead of just the China Spring community. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here present that would like to speak in opposition to this item?
Yeah, one last one.
Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. It's Randy Farrar, 2029 Buster Chatham Road. What I'm curious about, and I know this is just the planning, how are they getting the sewage there? Are they piping it under, over, carrying it? That's my biggest concern. Because if you're piping it, that's in the FEMA flood zone, and I don't know if that's very safe. If you're trucking it, like the last man said, that road's not gonna handle it. I used to build it. So I'm curious how you're gonna do it, and then once you do it, it's one way in, one way out road on Buster Chatham. Is there a bridge being planned to go to China Springs, where this is coming from? Are we gonna have traffic cutting through from China Springs, cutting up Buster Chatham to cut off the circle going to 35, so people don't have to go all the way around the loop now? They'll just shoot up and down Buster Chatham there with their trash and flying. I mean, do y'all actually take the entire road and fix it completely? Have to put in lights. Got people walking up and down there, their dogs, riding bikes. Now you can have big trucks and all these people coming through there. Is this all in the future planning? Do we have any ideas? Is what I want to know. And then what are you gonna do about the smell, if it fails, and all that kind of stuff? I heard this is gonna be a modern plant. Originally, I thought it was supposed to be on this side. That was the paperwork I got in 2020 when we first moved out there, type deal. And now I see it's over here. And that's what I'm concerned about. I mean, yes, they've already made all the other statements. I'm curious, bridge, pipes, how, return, get back. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else present that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Would the applicant like to make a rebuttal?
Yes, let me get to my correct slide. The first thing I want to discuss is the zoning on the property. In all city zoning districts, public utilities and distribution systems are permitted uses. So it was not mentioned because they're just automatically allowed in all zoning districts. The reason being is when you're dealing with a public utility, it's for the benefit of the public as a whole. And yeah, a lot of people may not want them in their backyard, so they are permitted where they need to be located to serve the community as a whole. But when we say rural estate zoning or single-family zoning, from a planning standpoint, we look at what is the best fit for this neighborhood with the annexation at this time. And based on the character of the surrounding area, it fits most like our RE zoning district. And that is why that specific district was selected. In the event that the city does not move forward with any type of treatment plan or whatever that case may be, the zoning would match closest to the neighborhood that is there. The other main thing that Planning Commission would be concerned with is the development questions that are presented tonight. This request is for bringing this property and just this property into the city limits. This is not a discussion of the development, how it's going to be served or anything like that. All those questions would then come at a later date. And referring you back to this slide here, even the planning design isn't going to even happen until capacity requires it. So it's too premature to answer any of those specific questions. Services that are being provided to existing neighbors, whether it's through the sheriff or anything like that, existing services are not changing on any property outside of this property. That's all I have regarding the Planning Commission's purview of this item.
Do any commission members have any questions?
A couple. I think a lot of really good points were made, and certainly some even within our purview for this hearing that deserve some discussion. So my question for staff is, would, in the event that a wastewater treatment plant were to be built, would a land use change or zoning change need to happen at that point, or would the land use that you're proposing allow for a wastewater treatment plant?
Yeah, the way it is worded in the ordinance, public utility, including transmission line, distribution lines, appurtenances, those are permitted uses in all zoning districts.
Okay.
Again, we chose the rural estate zoning just as it was the closest fit for a city zoning district. In fact, we do not even have land currently zoned rural RE zoning currently.
So no land use change or zoning change would be needed, but TCEQ and all the other regulatory compliance issues would still come into play.
Yes, and that would not come to Planning Commission. That would go through infrastructure services, through public process with council.
Okay, thank you.
So with this piece of land, and while I do understand the concern about the wastewater treatment plant, I'm just thinking about the zoning, the proposed zoning in general, and all of the uses that could be used in that zoning. When we look at the map on this piece of property, that R1B down there, that's the closest city of Waco currently zoned land. And so I think that, I took a lot of notes, I was trying to read them, but if this property is annexed with this zoning, regardless of whatever development is on it, how can the city of Waco service this piece of land, whether we're talking about municipal services or water or sewer on this piece of property, no matter what the development or use is, while it is technically adjacent to city-owned land, that city-owned land is the river right now. So how would they handle that?
Yes, a lot of that would be handled during any type of platting or infrastructure review for development on the property, whether it be I'm just going to say residential subdivision or water treatment plant. Those go through a thorough development review. We would traffic impact studies, through consolidating efforts with the county. But at this point, again, we don't have plans to really know what we're doing. I mean, if this were, let me go outside the box. Let me go outside the box and think about, I'm going to reiterate that I don't have an idea what the city's intent is for that wastewater treatment plant. Thank you. The city's zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinance would address a lot of that.
Yeah, I would just add, so there is a service plan that will be part of the annexation ordinance that goes to city council. Part of that service plan in state law requires the city to provide services comparable to similarly situated properties that are already in the city. This is all agricultural property. There is a house on there. And so the intent right now is to provide the services to the property that are currently there. It's not served with city water because it's agricultural use. There's an existing house on a part of the property that the city is running out that's served with the Chalk Bluff water and a septic system, and there's no intent to change that. So, and that's the same as, and we got a private annexation coming up in the next couple of public hearings. It's the same for that. When that property gets developed, right now it's all agricultural land. When that property gets developed, goes through the platting process, we will work the infrastructure to that property, and that would be the same for this.
You can go if you've got your question.
I think that might answer, well, you addressed the first portion of my question when it came to our role here this evening and basically reminding the audience of what we're serving for in this space for Plan Commission. But I think what Clint just said may answer my next question for Mr. Bland. Well, it was for Mr. Blandpede. Can you go back to the other map that shows the topography a little bit more where you can see the houses? This one right here. So, and he was one of the speakers, and I believe he said he has the pecan farm, correct? And you're to the north of this hashtag where your trees are there. But it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, is some of his property within the solid line there, or is that still city property too?
Yeah, all the property as part of the annexation is in the solid line, and that's the city-owned property. The dash line is the 200-foot notices. That's the 200-foot buffer that we sent notices to all the property owners within that dash line. We sent notices of the hearing.
And then you're basically saying if the city decides to move forward with this project, depending on the growth in this area come 2030, then there would be some type of a service plan put in place in discussions with him specific. I mean, I'm naming him specifically only because he said something about his organic farm that he has there, and that's how he makes a living. And he's concerned about the drainage and the runoff to his property. But would that be something that, this is really way early to think about, but that would be something that would be in those discussions?
Sure. Yeah, if the city decides to move forward with the treatment plant, through the planning and design process, there's a permitting process for the TCEQ, which is the state agency that permits the treatment plants, and there's a lot of different requirements for that. There's a public process for that, and the city will go through that and meet all the state requirements for permitting at that time. Again, we don't anticipate that process to even start till 2030, but again, that will be dependent on capacity needs and development in the area.
Okay. Go ahead. No, go ahead. No. I'm fine. I might have something later. Go ahead.
What is the density allowed within this proposed zoning if this annexation were to happen?
So RE zoning, the minimum lot size is 40,000 square feet. And as Laura mentioned, that's the lowest density we have, a zoning district that we have. So we, as part of annexation, we have to designate it with the zoning district. So this is the very lowest one, the one that's closest to rural residential, and it goes all the way up through heavy industrial zoning. And so for example, the R1B zoning that you see that's on the Steinbeck Bend area, that allows public uses, residential uses, agricultural uses, but it allows residential uses down to 6,000 square foot a lot. And we didn't think that was appropriate for this area. We felt like the larger lot residential, it was more appropriate. So that's why the RE is being proposed.
Mr. Chair, if I can add a little bit to that as well, going back to the land use designation that we selected here, the rural residential land use designation, the only zoning district allowed in this land use designation is the RE. So if we were to designate this as like a suburban residential or urban residential, which is the closest that we have there, the suburban residential, that would open the door for additional higher density zoning. So we selected the most restrictive land use designation along with the most restrictive residential zoning. And that is what is for consideration tonight. Are these the appropriate zoning and land use designations on these properties?
I have a question. Would the city have to annex the property in order to put a wastewater plant on it? You speak up, we can't hear you. No, I'm sorry. I wasn't speaking into my mic. My question is, does the city have to annex the property in order to put a wastewater plant on it?
No. The city does not need to annex the property. The city can place a wastewater treatment facility on this property without annexation. The purpose of the annexation is to bring it within the city's jurisdiction so that we can regulate or monitor, do whatever we need as a city on city-owned property.
So whether or not the property is annexed tonight or going forward, it does not affect whether or not a wastewater plant would be put on that property.
Correct. It would just remain in the unincorporated area of the county.
That's kind of where my questions go to, which I'm sure is frustrating to our speakers, just because we're trying to confine at least my questions to what's relevant for what this board can do. And so I get there's a lot of very valid concerns that maybe we can't even address. But one question I had, this might be more for Will, but there was some talk about the voluntary nature of the annexation, being that the city of Waco is a property owner and it's the one petitioning for the annexation. Does our analysis change at all, Will, by the fact that the city is the applicant here, which is obviously different than if it was truly a private individual who owned the land? Is there any distinction there in how we look at this?
State law does not make any distinction. The city is the applicant. We follow. Can't hear. I'm sorry.
Can't hear.
The city is the applicant, and we filed the voluntary request for annexation in compliance with state law under Local Government Code 43, Section C3. We are entitled to voluntary annexation as any other landowner. I don't believe that would necessarily change our analysis. The only thing I could see possibly changing that would be if this were a private annexation with some plans to develop it in the immediacy, we would need to know those plans a little bit for the determination of infrastructure as Clint was describing. But since there are no immediate plans, we don't necessarily need to do that right now.
Okay, thank you.
One of our speakers, I believe it was Mr. Roach, expressed a concern for road access, right? So when if the city annexes this, then they're responsible for the roads that are adjacent to the city property. However, you're using then county roads to get to your development, and no matter what kind of development is done on that, it could cause some wear and tear issues for the county roads. Can you just tell me and explain to us how that works, or how you guys coordinate with the county to address that?
Sure. So the city's intent on the maintenance of the road adjacent to our property would be to maintain it at its current condition and level. which would match up with what the county does. If and when that property develops, if it's going to cause impact, and that would be part of the permitting process. If that's going to impact the portion of the road that's outside of the city limits, then we'll definitely work with the county to maintain that road, that's outside the city limits if that's causing access to that property, if it develops for the treatment plant is causing issues with the existing county road, we will definitely work with the county to maintain that.
So I understand that there's a lot that it's being addressed here that we can't really speak to, but I also am trying to find the balance of like, where is there another opportunity for public input in this decision for a water treatment plant?
So there is a public input process built into the state permitting process.
Okay.
And so that would be the avenue of when the city pursues those permits to tie into that public input process with TCEQ. So there also would be opportunities, so the council would have to authorize money to do the engineering and plans for that, and that will take council action, so there will be opportunity then as well.
I think it's tough to say, like, no, we can't do it without having a conversation with utility departments. What other viable options are there? What really benefit does this provide to the community? So I think that there's validity to like getting the engineering, paying for that, getting the design done so that we can answer some of these questions.
Yeah, I don't think that would be proper use of city funds until we know that we're going to pursue building a plant there, spending any. There was a study done that identified this site.
Yeah.
But to start doing engineering plans before we know that we're going to build the plant or have the funds to build the plant would be premature. So I think that will happen, at the time that the city decides that the plan is needed.
I guess for the benefit of the audience, it's like what do they need to be on the lookout for further public input? And then will there be notices similar to what we did?
Sure. So when the city purchased the property in 2023, our infrastructure services department had a public meeting to discuss the plant and the future plans. And, I anticipate when we start the process of actually starting the engineering and the permitting process, there'll be numerous opportunities for the city to hold information sessions on those.
Is the report for identifying the site, is that available for public access?
Do we know?
I don't know.
I don't have anybody here. We can provide that information to y'all.
And I think I know the answer to this, but should the wastewater plant go forward, so if they wanted to do that, TCEQ would require the posting of public notice out on the property, wouldn't they?
I don't know all the specifics for their requirements, but we'll follow all their posting requirements necessary for the permitting process. Yeah, I mean, we can get that information to you. It's a TCEQ process, and we'll follow it. So she's had her chance to speak. We need to.
Ma'am, we need to follow these rules. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
Or is that the point where we were discussing amongst ourselves? Like, okay, I'm trying to remember the order.
It seems to me, staff, if this is zoned, it's more restrictions than if it were not zoned. If it was annexed and zoned R3, whatever, RE, excuse me, you can't put a rock quarry or whatever else on there. Whereas if it was not annexed, it's less protection for the neighbors and the speakers. Is that true or not true?
So right now, it's in the ETJ, there is no zoning on the property. The zoning does restrict it to, uses allowed in that zoning district. Right now, it could be used for almost anything.
On the services, let's say that a portion of it does want to get developed for the rural residential. Would they have to figure out a way to get city water to it? Or could they rely on?
Yeah, there would be, through the plating process, if the city decided to sell this off for development, they would have to come up with a infrastructure plan to service the property to city standards.
But the services could be provided from City of Waco Water or another water district? It doesn't have to be from City of Waco.
It's dual certified for water.
And generally, more septic tanks is not allowed in city annexed property. Is that correct?
Correct. So inside the city limits, you have to have 20 acres to put a septic tank in. Outside, it's 1 acre.
Okay, any other questions from the commission members? The public hearing on this item is now closed. The question before us is a recommendation to city council to annex only. They're not asking us, how do we feel about a sewer treatment plant, but to annex the land. Is there a motion?
Do we need a motion for there to be discussion? Is that right, Will? Or can we, okay, so then I'll make the motion that we recommend approval based on staff recommendation, but I want some discussion if the motion is seconded.
You want to discuss it if it is seconded?
Yeah, I mean, I can't discuss it until there's a second to the motion.
Oh,
I'll second so we can start the discussion.
Okay, so my thought process here is that there's obviously a lot of very valid concerns on the wastewater treatment plant specifically. However, as Mr. England kind of fleshed out with his question, the city could put a wastewater treatment plant on that land right now as the owner. There's not a lot that we as a board can do right now in this hearing to stop a wastewater treatment plant from going on. And then again, Mr. Embry, to your point, if we do have some zoning that actually does put more restrictions than there is on the land now, the city's in control of it regardless, but it's at least now annexed for the purposes of maintaining that land. Again, I don't see why we wouldn't approve when that is our purview, notwithstanding the fact that there are a lot of concerns with a wastewater treatment plant, but nothing our recommendation to city council can do today affects whether or not a wastewater treatment plant can go on the land, is my understanding from our questions and discussion. So that is my reasoning for moving that we recommend approval.
So I see what you're saying. I think that my concern with this annexation, not considering the wastewater treatment plant at all, are what the zoning then allows for, and does it make sense to annex this property into city limits and give access to city services, considering where that property is located? Because yes, there's a plan for a wastewater treatment plan, but if that were to fall through, if that weren't to come to fruition, we now have a huge parcel of land within the city of Waco that could be developed into those 1 acre lots. That's why I was asking about the density, that the city of Waco may not be able to feasibly service. And I'm saying that because of the small area of map that we saw, but if this was annexed, are we, and not considering the proposed usage, but considering any usage, are we sort of setting that parcel up for failure because we're saying, let's bring it into the city of Waco, let's zone it RE, and as a city of Waco property, you're gonna have access to services, but I don't know how those services are gonna get there. And, we talk about, well, that happens in the development plan, but I'm not even talking about necessarily like water or sewer, although those are valid. But if that is City of Waco land and a developer comes in and develops it and puts houses out there, how are our city services, our police, our fire, accessing that piece of City of Waco land? And that's my concern when we talk about annexing it in, not thinking about a specific use, but any use. And I'm just, again, looking at the map, that small is,
Well, I think
How
you
does-
said
how
that
does the City
you
of
just have to
Waco
provide
fire truck-
reasonable services that other properties in similar locations do. So you don't have to, I don't think the City of Waco has to provide every single service, but
Well-
just within reason. Is that correct, Clint?
but isn't it reasonable if it's a City of Waco piece of
Yeah, I mean, but
property to
you
expect?
offer a valid concern. Like if there's a police dispatch, like do police have to go to the site? If there's an issue, fire, same thing, other city services, I mean, it's a valid point.
They do. I think that's all in plating, though. Like, if you replat the property, that's when you have to show that if you're gonna break it into 100 one-acre parcels to put 100 houses on it, that's when you have to show that you have the services and infrastructure to service that plan.
And I get that. I'm just saying, like, that's why I asked the question, like, are we setting up for failure? Because if you annex it and you're annexing it into a zoning that allows for that usage, but you,
You don't have to use it, you still have to replat the property, though, to hit all those things.
You can
so would we say, like, that it wouldn't?
You can replat the property in the ETJ and do 100 lots without being in the city of Waco, without any zoning. But I think what Meg is saying is that right now, like if you did a development without being in the city of Waco doesn't have to provide services such as fire and police. But if you do, then we have to dispatch a police officer from the downtown location at 30th and Herring all the way around to get to the site. Is that what you mean, that you're setting it up for failure?
Yeah, I'm saying, like, not considering the wastewater treatment plant at all.
Sure.
Just considering the zoning and what would be allowed, and that would be a city
Like you're saying
property.
basically if
Like, are we gonna send
a private
a
developer
cop
was gonna
over the
come and
river?
say, hey, I want to do a rural residential here and I want to put in 2 or 3 acre lots and I want to get annexed by the city, is there a reason why we would say, it's actually a bad idea? We don't want you to be annexed. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, I don't understand why, well, I'm not gonna say that I don't understand why. What I'm saying is, does it make sense for the City of Waco to annex this property, considering any of the uses that are allowed in that zoning that it would come in at? Because could we actually service that? Whether it's one house or 100 houses out there as a City of Waco property, it's going to expect City of Waco services. And where that piece of property is located in comparison to any other City of Waco property, it does not, and again, I'm not necessarily talking about water or sewer, because I do know that we say, okay, developer, that's on you, but other services.
But other services, but I think what Clint was saying is that you don't have to provide reasonable services that are available to other similarly.
Yeah, I can provide an example that may help. So if, let's just for say the treatment plant doesn't happen, the city decides to sell this off, it's inside the city limits. It would have to be on septic, right? Because you would not have sewer service out there. The minimum lot size would be 20 acres on that first septic system inside the city limits. It would use the rural water system. And then when it comes to fire and police, so police, we do not have substations, so it's a, on-call system. Fire, the example of the new Riverway subdivision that's coming in at Lakeshore and MLK that's building 1,500 units at build-out, we're going to have to build a fire station to serve that, because right now we don't have a fire station in that area. This would be similar. If enough development happened out there, we would build the services in that area to serve it appropriately. But at a 20 acre lot, we would not need to build a fire station out there to serve it. It would be low density it'd be similar service to what we have in other areas of the city, like the Steinbeck Bend area right now that doesn't have a designated fire station in there because it's really low density.
Okay. And I think that, I mean, that definitely answers my question, but I get what you're saying is, why wouldn't we annex it? Because now bringing the wastewater treatment plant back in, why wouldn't we annex it? Because the city can put a wastewater treatment plant there no matter what. I think my comment is, why would we annex it if the city can put a wastewater treatment plant out there no matter what? Because just logistically, I get the city's point that it makes sense for city-owned property to be within the city of Waco city limits, except that this, to me, isn't adjacent or
This
contiguous.
is another
So
hot
that's-
topic issue that I don't want to bring up, but like, for example, just for the purpose of being thorough, the new landfill, is that in City of Waco property, or is that not in City of Waco?
So there's another, so there's 4 city properties that are currently outside the city limits that we're working on annexations. There's some properties that we don't have, the annexation law does not allow us to annex. So the new landfill, we can't get to it.
You can't get to it because there's not enough property close by.
Yeah, the Bullhide treatment plant that somebody mentioned, that's on the other side of 35, on the other side of Lorena, we can't get to that, but.
That's not annexed.
It's not annexed. We're not proposing the annex, but there are, this one, the existing W. Mars plant, we're working on annexation for that. The old landfill property on 84, we're working on an annexation for that. And then the new transfer station for the landfill that's off Third, and you'll see that. So this is one of 4 properties, and so it's not specific to this, but we are trying to get property that the city owns that we have the authority to annex into our city limits.
For transparency, can you speak into why you're pursuing annexation and why you wouldn't just do like what you did with Bullhide?
So it's all what Laura was saying. Having their jurisdictional control on the properties that we own, that we can annex, is the goal of what we're doing with these 4 properties.
Like practically,
Yeah.
is there a technical or practical example that can help us understand and the audience understand why?
Yeah, like the benefit, I think is what he's trying to.
Yeah, the benefit is having it in the city's control and jurisdictional control. And Laura went through those, and we can pull that slide back up if you want, but that is the goal for the 4 properties.
Incorporates existing city-owned property in the city. Okay.
Any other discussion from the commissioners?
Yeah, Meg, to your point, I can't think of a reason why it would not make sense for annexation. So unless you can have I get it's a valid question, but unless you have a practical answer of why wouldn't we do it, I'm inclined to approve it. But open for discussion. If anyone has an idea of like, oh yeah, let's think through this. This is a good reason why we wouldn't want to do it.
And I guess my response to that would just be like, to me, in looking at the map and then talking about like what the zoning would be, and also considering the wastewater proposal, but not considering it, like if they can do that anyway, regardless of whether it is brought within Waco City of Limits, I will say that from a map and a logistics standpoint, it doesn't look like it makes sense to me.
And specifically just because it doesn't connect, and you think it'll be a drain on Waco's resources, or what?
Well, again, like I'm considering any future use allowed within that zoning, the size of the parcel, what could be done with it if a wastewater facility treatment isn't there, and that we are bringing a essentially non-contiguous parcel of property into the city of Waco limits that we can't really service. We can't really access. I mean, it's only technically considered contiguous to the city of Waco because it butts up to water.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, my opinion might be different if that parcel was on the other side of the river and butted up to city of Waco land.
Sure.
I hear what you're saying, and I just maybe don't fully agree. Just, yeah, I think it's a microphone. Oh, sorry. I think it's a very valid point. Thinking of the uses again as residential use, to Clint's point, if you have to have septic out there, you're talking about 5 houses, 6, what's the total acreage
Well,
again?
no, it's
153.
200.
Or 20 houses, what's the total acreage?
153.
150 acres, divided by 20, so divided by 20.
It's probably a benefit to the community for it to be annexed for the density purpose, because in the ETJ, you can just do 150 houses, an acre, a lot, because it's outside city zoning, but because it is in the city of Waco, you can limits to 20 acres.
All right.
Mr. Chair, can we limit the comments from the crowd? We've had the public hearing already.
Yeah,
It's
we're
hard to hear up
trying to have an orderly meeting here. Just kind of, we had the time to speak. We have to keep this moving in an orderly fashion. Thank you. Any other comments or discussion from the commissioners?
No, I'm ready to vote.
Move that we close discussion.
Seeing, there's been a motion to approve based on staff findings by Commissioner Smith. It was seconded by Ms. Givens. Please pull the commission.
Allen?
Yay.
Ellis?
No.
England?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Salome?
No.
Smith?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes. The motion carries. The next item on the agenda is ANX 26-03. I'll wait 60 seconds and ask for the report from the city staff in about 30 seconds.
And I understand. And it's really.
Sure.
Discussion that we're having. It is very frustrating for them, and I
Can we take, I think we lost, can we take a break? What's the rule on that? 2 minutes?
2-minute recess?
2-minute recess? Laura, are you ready? The next item on the agenda, yes, is ANX 26-03. What is the report from the city staff?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is, again, a city-initiated voluntary annexation of approximately 240.9 acres of city-owned property located along South University Parks Drive, FM 3400. Annexation includes 8 city-owned tracts, approximately 2.33 miles of University Parks Drive right-of-way, and then portions of Rosenfeld Road and Radel Road rights-of-way. Property is contiguous to the existing city limits and located within the city's ETJ. So this is a case where since 2023, the state of Texas updated legislation that allows connectivity between properties and city limits through the means of a right-of-way. In this case, it would be the University Parks Drive right-of-way, which is TxDOT jurisdiction. We are required to obtain acceptance of that right-of-way and is part of the annexation. They have 61 days from the adoption of the annexation to provide any objections, and we already received TxDOT's acceptance of the annexation of that right-of-way. So surrounding, backing up a little bit, located adjacent to Council District 1 and is also nearest neighborhood district would be the Oakwood Neighborhood Association. Surrounding area is characterized, again, by agricultural land, rural residential properties, light industrial uses, and then existing city-owned public facilities, including the recently constructed transfer station, which is located here on parcel 1. Flat Creek bisects portions of the property, and much of the area lies, again, within the FEMA floodplain. The request also includes portions of county right-of-way of Radel and Rosenfeld Road, similar to the last request. Again, just to summarize, the annexation brings city-owned land into municipal boundaries. The intent is to have city property under city jurisdiction. It establishes city zoning, future land use designation, municipal regulatory authority, and consistency with future planning and management of city-owned facilities. Like the previous annexation case, this action does not approve new development. Here's just an outline. It is 8 parcels, but that's only because they're all just little pieces. City does own all of these, just different deeds were transferred, leaving them as 8 parcels. Just to emphasize again, the dashed line is the notification boundary, not the annexation boundary. The annexation boundary is the solid dark bold line. The nearest location of the city is here at Cottonwood Creek. Designation there is open space due to the floodplain. There's also some industrial designations there. And then again, we're proposing the rural residential land use designation, and even that land use designation, RE is the only allowable zoning designation. And again, reemphasizing that public uses and utilities are permitted in all of our zoning districts. Planning services notified property owners, and on this one, we have not received any written comments. We have 52 notices mailed. No objections were received. And again, we sent out the frequently asked questions handout with this. Staff is recommending approval of this voluntary request for annexation, designation of rural residential, and RE single-family residence district, and extending the boundary limits of the city of Waco to include said territory.
Is anyone else present that would like to speak in favor of this item? Please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Sue Hanson, and my address is 8628 South 3rd Street. But I own land on the Rosenfeld Road. And it's strictly going to be just residential, rural. There's no construction or anything designated for that area, because I know the biggest part of it's the old dump site. Just like you built the transportation on Radel Road with an old dump site. And so, I mean, that's all I want to know is it's strictly going to be residential and rural. There's no idea of building any kind of, anything else on it.
Yeah, correct. There's no plans for city facilities on the properties 2 through 8. The transfer station was built on property 1, but the other properties.
Are you going to do anything with the land, or is it just to stay, so it, because it's city-owned, it's just under your jurisdiction? Okay. Is that the same thing on Treatment Road? Because that's also land over there that's not.
That's correct. Just annexing the existing facility there.
Okay.
And to add, the treatment plant road one is not going to be considered tonight. We have pulled that off the agenda.
Okay. But, I mean, it's strictly, that's all I want to make sure is, I don't want a treatment plant. We've already got something out there, so, on my, next to my land already. Okay, thank you.
Was that in favor of? Or was that, which one did I get through? Huh? That was a question in favor of?
Neutral.
Is anyone else here present that would like to speak in favor of this item? Is anyone here present that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Please state your name and address for the record.
Donald James, 1830 East Tinsley Road. Hadn't been able to hear hardly anything that's going on here, so I'm talking to the mic here. The city of Waco never annexes anything without a reason. They've got a reason for it. And on the writing, I can't hear the lady over here, but on the writing up there, no taxes, no anything. Everything's gonna remain the same as it is. That being the case, why annex it? There's a reason, and there's a reason that we're not being told about it. Now, we was blessed with the, I guess you're calling it the transfer station, the garbage, all the garbage out of Waco comes out there. And we were blessed with that. They've never said anything to us about how the traffic would be increased, which it has. All the garbage trucks come out there and unload and then load again. Someone has been picking up the trash alongside University Parks. My understanding is that they're going 100 foot on each side of University Parks. I guess that then puts University Parks Drive in the city of Waco. Right now, University Parks Drive is a farm to market road, and I understand maintained by the state. There's a lot of traffic on it, a lot of truck traffic. Will that be Waco's responsibility to maintain that road? And why the 100 feet on the west side of University Parks if all they want is the transfer station and then apparently the other block of land that's in the orange up there that they, I suppose, own? I didn't know that. But why the annexation of 100 foot on the west side of University Parks Drive? I didn't see that on the previous deal where they had annexed any property leading up to the property that they were annexing that belonged to them. And if they can annex it without annexing anything else, why not do that? Why not just annex what they own out there instead of 100 foot of our property that's along the road out there? It just seems that they've got other plans that they don't want to disclose to us. I think it should be transparent. I think we should know what the plans are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. James.
Mr. James, I have a question for you. When you're, Mr. James, I just have a quick question for you. When you're referring to the 100 feet on the east and west side of University Parks Road, are you referring to the dashed line that appears on this map?
I'm looking at the dash lines, yes.
So, Laura, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Laura, that dashed line, right, that represents not the area that the city of Waco is requesting to annex. That dashed line is the notification border. Is that correct?
That is correct. We are required to notify property owners within 200 feet of the annexation. So the dashed line that you're seeing on the screen is that 200-foot notification area. The only land in this annexation being annexed is what's showing as orange on the screen, not the white dashed line. The right-of-way for University Parks, just to clarify as well, just the right-of-way for University Parks is being annexed, not land on either side of it. And unlike the other county road annexations, when annexing a TxDOT road, it maintains in TxDOT ownership and maintenance. It just is within the city limits at this point, if approved.
Do I understand that they're not annexing anything on the west side of University Parks Drive?
Nothing outside of the right-of-way except for those orange city-owned properties.
Okay.
May I add something to that? That's me speaking over here, sorry, that's fine. But what they're basically saying, instead of saying for notice, all they're saying is those hashtag lines, those dotted lines right there, just means those are the people that they're sending, like these letters that you may have received in the mail or your neighbors, just to let you know that they want to annex that portion within the solid line. And that's just the right of way. So, and another thing that you mentioned, and Laura stated that for University Parks, being that that's being annexed in that city property, still TxDOT property, then the state of Texas will still maintain that road. And that answers that lady's question in the audience as well.
Well, I do have property there that goes out to University Parks, and I was not notified. But my neighbor was, and I came up with him.
It has to be within a certain feet of the property. That's why you may or may not even know you had property there. If you're outside of the notification parameter, that's why you may have not have received a letter. And that's what they were trying to explain to you.
My property goes out to University Parks, so I suppose I'm within that perimeter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. James. Is anyone else present that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Would the applicant like to make a short rebuttal?
I believe I have addressed the things I was going to bring up. One other note, I heard about Radel Road, Rosenfeld Road, just like the previous annexation based on state law, they are county roads, so we are required to include them in the annexation, and then we would continue maintaining those roads.
Do any commission members have any questions?
I have one. Again, the city owns this property, correct?
That is correct.
How long is that stretch of University Parks, approximately? Does it say it?
It's 2.33 miles.
Oh, thank you.
It was in the agenda. I knew it was in here somewhere, 2.33. Yep.
Any other questions from the commission members? The public hearing on this item is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move that we recommend approval, I guess it's three, it's the annexation, the land use, and the zoning, based on staff findings.
A second.
Been a motion by Commissioner Smith and seconded by Ms. Givens. Any discussion? Please poll the commission.
Allen?
Yay.
Ellis?
Yes.
England?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes. That motion carries. The next item, item 3, I think no action upon. Laura, is that correct?
Correct.
26-04?
Yes, ANX 2604 is withdrawn from the agenda.
All right, commissioners, we're moving on to item number 4, which is ANX 26-06. What is the report and recommendation of the city staff?
Okay. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a voluntary annexation request. Unlike the other two, this is submitted by WBW Land Investments, LLC, Series 122, for their owned property.
You said unlike the other two.
Yes.
This is a private, this is not the city of Waco. applying.
Private annexation. This is not a city-owned property.
Okay.
Okay. The request includes approximately 104.5 acres, consisting of approximately 96.35 acres of privately owned property and approximately 8.16 acres of Cotton Belt Parkway, FM 2188 right-of-way. Property is located along Cotton Belt Parkway south of US Highway 84, adjacent to the existing city limits. Here is a location map. This pinkish color is McGregor city limits. The blue is City of Waco, and the solid yellow line is the annexation area, and the dashed line is the notification area. Here is a zoomed in. You can see that there is, McGregor actually owns the Highway 84, or not owns, I'm sorry, is in the city limits of McGregor, the right-of-way, but the City of Waco does have city limits on both sides of that road. That was done, I believe, through a boundary swap. So the property located here is the proposed Bluebonnet Crossing Phase 1 subdivision, and then using Cotton Belt Parkway description to connect to existing City of Waco limits. Within the area, we have the nearest city land use designations are suburban residential and urban residential. The proposed land use designation for this property is also urban residential. And zoning, we have R1B located nearest to this property in the City of Waco. This is unique in that there are two different zoning districts proposed to be in line with the planned Bluebonnet Crossing. The brighter yellow is R1B zoning, and then the darker yellow is R1C single-family residence. That is, recently we did an amendment to that zoning district to allow for smaller lots that have alley-loaded lots. And there's this development plan is one that kind of got that ball rolling on that. I have provided the survey for reference. This, again, shows the difference between the R1C, which is the smaller area, and then the R1B zoning. So Planning Services does recommend approval of the voluntary request for annexation, designation of urban residential, comprehensive plan land use designation, and R1B zoning, approximately 78.08 acres for the zoning of R1B and 18.27 acres for the zoning of R1C. 29 notices were mailed, and we did not receive any returned.
Is the applicant here to speak on behalf of this item? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, Adrienne Donatucci, WBW Development, 109 2nd Street, Georgetown, Texas. I don't really have anything to add. I think everything was said, but I'm here to answer any questions you all may have.
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Welcome.
Is anyone else here to speak in favor of this item? Is anyone here to speak in opposition to this item? Any commission members have any questions?
With regards, like for city staff, what motivates the city of Waco to annex a property like this? Like tax revenue or?
To annex the property, what's the motivation?
Yeah.
For development, for growth, to manage growth that's happening in and around the city.
Yeah, okay. And then is this, so this is ETJ land, right? And
Correct.
has any development started happening on it now yet?
No.
No, okay.
No. Yeah, there's been a preliminary plat that's come through Plan Commission.
Yeah.
For the development, but development hadn't started yet.
Okay.
If I can add to that, annexation was, they did submit the Phase 1 final plat for review. It's contingent upon this annexation because the county cannot maintain that kind of density within the county, so, and then there is some agreements happening out there for infrastructure that's also tied to that Phase 1 plat. That's outside of the Plan Commission's purview.
Right, just was trying to think.
Yep.
That's what made me think development had started on it.
Yeah.
What we had seen on it, okay.
Any other commission members have any questions? The public hearing on this item is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move that we recommend approval of the annexation, land use change, and zoning changes based on staff findings.
Second.
There was a motion made to recommend approval for all the items by Commissioner Smith, and it was seconded by Commissioner Lozano. Any discussion? Please poll the commission.
Allen?
Yay.
Ellis?
Yes.
England?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes. Next item, number 5, I'm going to step out, and the floor is now the Vice Chair, Commissioner Smith.
I'll let Mr. Embry leave the room. He's got a conflict of interest, so he's abstaining from this vote. Okay, this is item Z-26-25. City staff, what is your report and recommendation?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is case Z-2625. This request includes 2 related rezonings within the same block in North Waco. The proposal requests to rezone 1901 North 25th Street from O3 Office Limited Commercial to R3C Multiple Family Residential. And the city is co-applicant for rezoning 6 surrounding residential lots from R3E Multiple Family to R2 Two Family and Attached Single Family. The purpose is to facilitate redevelopment of the vacant office site while bringing the surrounding residential zoning into closer alignment with the existing neighborhood. Here is a location map. Again, the solid lines represent the parcels that are subject to this application, and the dashed line is showing the notification boundary. The property is located within the North Waco Neighborhood Association in Council District 4. The block contains a vacant former office building at the corner of 25th and Maple Avenue, and then the rest of the properties here and here are existing single-family homes. Surrounding development is primarily single-family homes or 2-family residences. There is also an assisted living facility immediately west of the property and a small neighborhood serving commercial uses closer to the intersection. I'm just going to go through these pictures pretty quickly. This is a picture of the property right now, just for the sake of time. These are the residences. They are showing single family. Okay. So all properties are designated as medium-density residential office flex. Both requested zoning districts are permitted within that land use designation, so no future land use amendment is required. Permitted zoning districts within this designation further include the O1, O3, R2 as requested, R3A, R3B, and R3C as requested. So with the zone change, you can see the existing O3 on the corner, and then the green is the existing R3E zoning. R3 zoning is a multifamily zoning, and as you saw in those pictures I was going through pretty quickly, the use is single family. So there is an inconsistency between the zoning district that they're in and the land uses that are on these properties. So currently, if we were developing all of this right now, say that there's nothing on these properties and we're going to develop these lots to the existing zoning, the current zoning would allow 52 dwelling units. Going to the proposed zoning of R3, so with this zoning, it would only allow 30 dwelling units. So in essence, even though we would be increasing residential density in this corner, we would be decreasing the potential allowable density by downzoning this to the appropriate zoning district. And then just some comparison slides, just the main highlight here. Right now, the O3 is existing. It does allow townhome dwellings, retail sales, and restaurants with limited hours. And then the proposed zoning does allow multifamily and townhouses. And then on the R3E to R2 land use, again, density is quite high within the R3E zoning, and it does allow all these different types of residential, no restrictions on height, and then the proposed is more consistent with the actual uses on these properties. And then here is that calculation of if we were to develop under the existing zoning, 52 units would be allowed, and then 30 units with the proposed zoning of this block. So looking at the block as a whole and not just one parcel on this property, Planning Services is recommending approval from the O3 to R3C and the R3E to R2 based on the following findings. One, the proposed zoning is in keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan. Existing public infrastructure is adequate to support the range of uses permitted within the R3C and R2 zoning district. The subject property meets all the area and width requirements for the R3C and R2 districts. And the proposed overall zoning represents a reduction in maximum allowable density and supports a transition to a more residential compatible development pattern matching the existing uses. We did send out 31 notices. This item was actually carried forward from our special call meeting on July 14th. We did not have a quorum for this item, so it moved to this agenda. We did resend out notice with providing the additional meeting date. We did have one notice or one return comment at the last meeting, and that is the only one that we have. And that was included in your packets.
Thank you. Is the applicant or his or her representative here to speak on behalf of this item? Thank you. Just name and address for the record, please.
Cameron Philgreen, 5409 Edinburgh Drive, just here to answer any questions.
Any questions from the commission? All right, thank you, sir.
Yep.
Is there anyone else here to speak on behalf of this item? Anyone opposed who'd like to speak on this item?
Hello, my name is Tatiana Metaxa Rosenfeld. The address is 1403 Desert Willow Place, Cedar Park. My husband and I own 2600 Maple Avenue, which is inside the notice area for this particular case. And I'm here to speak about the rezoning request. I did speak with Mr. Philgreen directly, and I appreciate the conversation. He explained that his current plan is a certain number of apartments inside the existing building with no expansion. He also told me he would not oppose a future rezoning request for our property, 2600 Maple Avenue. I have not seen the actual plans yet, so I can only speak from the notice, the zoning request, and the conversation I had with the owner of the property. My concern or question is this. So it's about the planning record and how the decision may actually affect nearby properties later. I believe that this area already has a mix of residential and commercial use, and our property, again, 2600 Maple Avenue, sits in that same immediate pattern. And it's a corner property near a traffic area. And I believe that this part of Waco should be looked at with maybe a more balanced, forward-looking approach. Yes, it's currently a mix of residential and office commercial use. And I do believe that this area has a great potential in bringing in more small local businesses, maybe offices, studios, neighborhoods serving commercial uses where that makes sense. And currently from the map, it does make sense. And I believe that this kind of coexistence can actually bring activity, services, and money back into the area. So I want to make sure that the approval, if it goes through, is not interpreted later by the city, moving this area only toward residential, where it can serve both purposes, commercial, residential, and office space. And my request tonight that this case be postponed maybe enough for the city to review the surrounding land use direction more clearly. And if the commission does move this case forward today, I want to ask that the record clearly reflect that approval of this case does not establish a residential-only direction for the area and should not be used later as a reason to deny compatible commercial, residential, or office type zoning in the same area for, say, my property, which is 2600 Maple Avenue. And that is the request tonight. Protect the broader planning as opposed to moving it only toward residential and have a comprehensive solution for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition who'd like to speak on this item? Would the applicant like a quick rebuttal? Any questions from the commissioners?
I have a question. It's for you, ma'am. You're not wanting residential zoning. You're preferring that we disapprove the application to keep it for office space?
I was asking for keeping the structure as is, so either still have the same mixed use, or in case today's case goes forward and gets approved, that in the nearest future, and I believe as soon as next month, the city does not come back to me and says, since we just approved the adjacent space only for residential, that's the reason we cannot, approve another application for changing to the mixed use as opposed to the current residential.
Okay. Laura, oh, go ahead. I was going to ask that if you can explain the zoning again so that she would understand like the permitted uses in this space, or even show that chart. That might be beneficial. Thank you. So it's showing that the O3 is what's existing. Well, I'm reading it backwards. Never mind.
I was just going to ask, it sounded to me like her concern was that she's concerned that the area is going to move only residential. I'm not sure if that was your concern. Yes. Can you, as far as medium density residential office flex, which is the land, is that the land use designation for this area? And you had it on one map, right? So zoning is guided by land use, right? And so like medium density office residential flex definitely has commercial type uses in it. Is that correct?
Yes, let me review the allowable zonings within the medium density residential office flex, which are shown on the screen as orange. is O1, O3, R2, R3A, R3B, and R3C. So when making a recommendation for a zone change, the land use map is the first thing that we pull up. We had another request just a couple months ago, right across Maple Avenue from this, and we recommended disapproval of that one as well because the request was not in conformity with the land use plan. So dependent upon specific situations for each zone change request, this is the first thing that we would look at. That help? Yep. Okay.
And we published the comprehensive land use plan. It's for the speaker, if you're curious what the plan for the city is for this area, you can look at the planned land uses all around the city to show what the overall goal is that we're trying to move towards. So if you're curious, I'd recommend that to you. Any other questions? Any other questions from the commission? Then we will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I move to recommend approval based on staff findings.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Ms. Salome and a second by Mr. Ellis. Please poll the commission.
Ellis,
Yes.
England,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Lozano,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Salome,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. All right, motion carries. We can bring Mr. Embry back in.
Thank you, Vice.
Taylor left. Are we good quorum-wise?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Thank you, Vice Chair Smith. The next item on the agenda, number 6, Laura, we are requesting a continuance. Is that correct?
Yes, actually, case Z2626. The applicant, we received today a request for withdrawal of her, continuance. You're right, sorry, I'm ahead, wrong one, long night. Yes, we did receive a request to continue the public hearing to the next meeting, which is August 25th, 2026, so that she can attend this meeting and address concerns.
So we need a motion and a second to approve the continuance. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And no public hearing open right now.
I think you do.
Yeah, we need to have a public hearing and have any testimony that people came to talk. Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll need to
We're
have
going to go through the normal motions, but the action will be a request to,
there's a request to continue, so we'll open the public hearing, hear any testimony from, for or against. We'll take action on the continuance if the commission approves the continuance, and that will be it. If you deny the continuance, then we'll move forward with the case.
Yep, and I would review the report, full report at that time.
okay. At this time, you're going to do the report? Or what time?
If we don't continue it.
If we don't continue it. Okay, so right now, what am I doing?
You're opening the public hearing.
Okay, is there anyone like to speak, here and present, that would like to speak in favor of this item?
Yes, my name is Donna Dill, and I'm here to speak on Maggie McCarthy's behalf. She's unable to be here today. I recently retired from Extraco Banks with 35 years as a credit risk analyst, and I've been a lifelong advocate for the disability community since my time as the national poster child for March of Dimes, and throughout my time that I've lived in Waco. I know Maggie through our common services volunteers and disability advocates through Mobilize Waco, a local nonprofit working toward full participation, access, and opportunity by people with disabilities in the Waco area. We want a community that is designed for everyone so people of all talents and abilities can thrive. Maggie has formally requested a continuance as she is out of town. She hopes that this will allow her the opportunity to discuss feedback with her neighbors and share with them the rules for Type 1 rentals along with her approach to the rental of her property. Maggie intends to prioritize people with disabilities via referrals from her involvement with the disability community. There's a great shortage of accessible rental properties, with less than 1% of available rents listed as accessible. Maggie's home is one of the few that is accessible. Maggie has direct and firsthand knowledge of the value of accessible living, as she shared her home with her husband, Jim Durham, who was paralyzed and used a wheelchair. Maggie was active in working with the disabled community through his work as a registered accessibility specialist and an RAZ 170. He did a great deal of work related to accessibility for the city of Waco. Maggie's home is a single-story ranch-style home that is level and flat with widened doors and an ADA accessible bathroom, making it a great option for many people with decreased mobility. Her intention is to work on a referral basis within the community that she knows affected by disability of some sort, including people with temporary or short-term disability and those with permanent disabilities. Many people do not know that the largest minority in our country are people with disabilities, affecting 1 in 4 individuals. The need for travelers like this goes unmet, as less than 1% of rental properties are truly accessible. Because of the short-term rental rules, Maggie will be limited to approximately 4 individuals, or 1 family, or 2 couples. She will be on property to ensure that the families are comfortable. People have voiced concerns about crime and traffic. The disability community is more likely to be a victim of crime than a perpetrator, and it is doubtful that her guests will increase the crime rate or the traffic into the neighborhood. At most, she will have 2 cars, approximately 1 or 2 weekends per month. The families of these individuals will be highly vetted, and as to introducing strangers into the neighborhood, she is likely to gather way more background information on the prospective visitors than any of the solicitors or contractors that routinely come into the neighborhood on a regular basis. Rest assured, this will not be a party house, and it is unlikely that the guests will create a noise problem. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present that would like to speak in favor of this item? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Valerie Fillmore, and I live at 3224 Maple Avenue. My neighbor across the street has had an Airbnb for probably 10 years. She was a police officer. She's since moved. Her parents are in the house. The only way we know that anybody is renting the property is that there are little different cars in the driveway. There's not any problem at all. The only problem we've ever had with her Airbnb was on a Baylor graduation weekend, and the mom forgot her hairdryer, and the girls took theirs with them when they vacated the property for them to have renters in. And they called me and asked me to bring them a hairdryer. Most people who care about their property don't want to rent it to someone who won't care about their property. I know you're working on a continuance for this case because Miss Maggie would like to do some repair with her neighbors in the neighborhood to let them understand where her heart is and what is going to be going on in her property with these rentals. And I would please ask you to consider this continuance. The other thing is, Donna Dill is my best friend, and I'm just going to tell you, when her house burned a few years ago, and she and her husband, who both need accessibility, could hardly find any place in the whole county to lease while they were rebuilding their home. You need to take this into consideration, even though it's a different thing. With short-term rentals, the handicapped population needs to be recognized, respected, and considered in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present that would like to speak in favor of this item? Is anyone present that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Please state your name and address for the record. Feel free to line up behind the podium if you'd like.
Hi, my name is Tom Albers. I live at 3001 Wooded Acres, which is 200 feet within the residence in question, which is 3001 Inverness Drive. This is strictly an Airbnb for all intents and purposes, and there's no reason for us to have a commercial business in a residential area. This is a prominent, nice area. I don't want somebody renting a house next door, much less an Airbnb in my neighborhood. I worked really hard. I've since retired. I respect those with disabilities to the nth degree, and I would also say that there are plenty of hotels and other accommodations that also address those disabilities as well, and they're welcome to stay at those type of residents or types of hotels where they allow to, make their own meals and still have accessibility for those that are disabled. But as far as the commercial business in a residential area, I think it's not acceptable in this regard. So we totally oppose having something of that nature in our neighborhood, and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Calvin Miller, and I live at 3011 Wooded Acres. And we've had notice of this meeting now for several weeks. We came here to participate and voice our opposition to the application for this Airbnb in the neighborhood. I'm simply opposed to the continuance tonight because we've come down here for this very purpose. Plenty of notice was given, and it's unfortunate that Maggie can't be here, but I think we need to go ahead and have the discussion and the vote by the commission. Thank you.
My name is David Dallas. I live at 2911 Inverness. I'm directly next door to Maggie. 20 years ago, I came to this city. I bought this lot. It took me a number of years to build that house. I went to the city before I started any of my building. I asked them about the zoning, what was allowed, what was not allowed. They gave it to me, single family dwelling, no rentals, no businesses. So I built my house there. We've been there now for quite some time. Now all of a sudden, I'm faced with this issue of an Airbnb next door to me. Now, I know it's been called under several different names, not exactly an Airbnb. It's called an Airbnb with restrictions, and it's called some other things that has been put to me. What this is an Airbnb. It is a business. Now, while she is selling it as a place for the disabled or handicapped, I have a handicapped son. And it's not right for him or anybody to be able to go into a neighborhood just because you have a problem and all of a sudden change the rules of engagement for that neighborhood. I'm totally opposed to this. I'm very empathetic and sympathetic towards people with disabilities. I've dealt with mine and my son for 31 years now, and I understand a lot of the difficulties in it. But you just don't go change the rules because one person wants to change them for the whole neighborhood. This is a very nice, influential neighborhood. I like it, but had I known at that time what the possibilities would be, I would have not moved here. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Abigail Lawson. I live 3100 Wooded Acres Drive. After speaking with several of my neighbors, we've come to the consensus of the opinion that the request to allow a special permit for short-term rental type 1 in an as an Airbnb zoning district be denied. The reasons are concern for the integrity and continuity of the neighborhood. As I'm sure many of you believe, it's important to know who's in your neighborhood. I think many of us in the community know each other. We know our neighbors, we know the kids, we know who's coming and going. That's important for the integrity of the community. Number two, safety concerns. Persons would be occupying the home would not be vetted. I know it was indicated earlier that there'd be a vetting process. We've not heard what that process would be. How intensive would it be? If a person is coming and, there's been a great emphasis on the fact of disability. But what I heard was that it'd be prioritized, but not limited to people with disabilities, is what I've heard. So that means that person occupying a home may not be disabled, maybe someone else coming with them to assist with them who's not disabled. So it's prioritized, but it's not limited to those with disabilities. And I'm also concerned that the approval would open the floodgates, allowing for future requests for Airbnbs of all types. As previously been stated, this is a good neighborhood, people who care about their property, people who are invested in their property, people who come to this neighborhood because it is a community, people who care about each other and we know each other. So it's important for that to continue. And I truly believe that the integrity of the community would be altered vastly if this was to be allowed. I'm a social worker by trade. I've been a social worker for all my life. I've worked with disabilities, with people with disabilities. My grandson has a disability, but I also understand that there's a community aspect here that cannot be ignored, and that we have to take into account what the community wants and needs in order to be maintained in the standard that it has right now. That is my concern. That is what I needed to speak to the committee about. We're hoping that you take into account what we said and how important it is for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Karen Miller. I live at 3011 Wooded Acres. I know Maggie. I think she's a very nice person. And my mother was a handicapped person, and they lived in Waco all their lives. And I'm just saying that we want our neighborhoods to stay as single-family residences and not have a business in our neighborhood. And I hope you will really consider this. I have the most respect for anyone with a handicap. My mother had cancer at 18 at Baylor, fell, had bone cancer, had her leg amputated before she married my dad. They were both at Baylor, and after all that, she had 3 children, raised us all here in the Waco area. And so I understand the handicap world, I guess I want to say. My mother was also the type of person who went out and water skied and went skiing and snow skiing. And she was just, she said she could do everything but drive a standard car or ride up an escalator because she had crutches, and the crutches would go up before she could get on there. So I totally understand that handicap world. But my mother never stayed in an Airbnb for a handicapped situation. There are so many hotels. My sister ran the Aloft Hotel here in Waco for a while. She was the manager, general manager. They have a lot of handicap rooms, and all hotels nowadays have handicap availability where, it's arranged for them to use that, and it's wonderful. And for that to be in our neighborhood, it's just a different thing that brings strangers into our neighborhood. And like Abigail said, it's a tight-knit neighborhood. And so, you kind of recognize the kids in the neighborhood, the animals, our pets, all of that kind of thing. And so I'm just hoping that you'll, consider not continuing this, because it's nothing against Maggie, and it is nothing against handicapped individuals. It is just that we all live in a neighborhood that is single-family residency, and we would just like it to remain that way. That's why we bought our homes there. And so I appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Is there anyone else present that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Would the applicant like to make a short rebuttal? Oh, yeah, that's right. All right, so my options right now are to, because it seems weird or strange to me to not read in your report.
Yeah, so I think we have a vote on the continuance. If it's continued, then we'll take the case up next month.
Okay.
Can I speak? Well, the one thing I didn't mention, I think I have a couple.
No, sir, I think your time's up, sir. Public hearing's finished. Thank you.
I just said I didn't want the continuance, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need sent back notices.
Okay.
Yeah, so if it's not continued, then we'll go through the full case and you'll vote on the case. If it's continued, we'll take up the case next month
Okay.
and you'll get the report next month.
So right now, I'm asking the commissioners
Yeah,
for a motion to continue this,
yeah,
or not.
or not continue it.
Okay.
Can't even discuss or ask questions. Right.
Anyone who spoke?
I would concentrate your questions right now just on the continuance.
Okay.
And then if it's voted down, then we'll go through the full report on the case itself.
Hey, commissioners, what do we think?
I have one question. How much notice was given?
You have the numbers?
My letter says it was dated July 13th, and I think I received it on the 18th.
Mine also was on the 14th.
Can we limit yelling from the gallery? We can't have that. We have to stop that. Staff?
There are 19 notices that were mailed within the 200-foot buffer on 7/14/2026, including the Neighborhood Association, and 7 were returned at the time that I updated it today, so 7 we received.
Again, I'd probably like the chance to ask questions, but I'll go ahead and move that we continue the public hearing with the reasoning being that it seems like Ms. McCarthy wants to talk to her neighbors about this. It doesn't sound like there's been much discussion there. So I would be in favor of giving her the time to reach out to her neighbors and discuss their concerns and questions. And then hopefully at the continued hearing, we would have more of a consensus from everybody. So I'm going to move to approve the continuance.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Smith for the continuance, been seconded by Ms. Salome. Any discussion? Please poll the commission.
Ellis?
Now we can actually ask a question now that we have the motion to continue or the discussion, or no, after we vote on the continuance?
So, yeah, so if you have any questions or discussion about the continuance, let's do it now.
Okay,
And then if the continuance fails, then we'll go through the full report on the actual request.
okay. So then my only thing would be if it does get continued, one of the neighbors that mentioned the opposition of this, mentioned that someone, I guess, nearby has STR1, they already are approved for Airbnb. Is there any way, if it does get continued, that we can get proof if that's already a zoning or a special permit that's allowed in that neighborhood?
Sure, yeah, we can give you that information if it's continued to next meeting.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion that's made?
Just confirming, type 1 is the applicant would have to live or reside in the property while they were letting it. I just want to make sure I'm perfect.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, motion to continue.
Any other discussion on the motion that's on the floor? Please poll the commission.
Ellis?
No.
England?
No.
Givens?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
No.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Embry,
Yes. What's the vote count on that?
5-3.
5-3, it carries.
So that case will be continued to our August 25th meeting.
We will resend out notices as well.
We'll mail out new notices as well, the
Very good.
continued hearing.
We can encourage the applicant to speak to her neighbors in the meantime to hopefully.
That's correct, yeah.
It's more efficient. Okay, great.
The next item on the agenda, item 7, is Z-26-22. What is the report and recommendation of city staff?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Z-26-22 is a request that involves two related actions on approximately 66.5 acres located at the northeast corner of South 12th Street and Loop 340 or State Highway 6. The applicant is requesting, kind of in 3 different parts, a future land use map amendment from industrial to mixed-use flex on approximately 2.73 acres, a rezoning of that same 2.73 acre tract from R1B and M2 light industrial to C2 community commercial, and then rezoning of the remaining approximately 63.8 acres from R1B single-family residence to M2 light industrial. Here is a map showing the parcels that are in question. The property is located within the Oakwood Neighborhood Association in Council District 1. The surrounding area is largely undeveloped, but is transitioning toward employment and commercial uses. Existing nearby uses include Pioneer Steel Pipe, Busby Feed and Seed, and then recently constructed convenience store here at the corner. There's also a planned extension and widening at some point of South 12th Street to further support future development. Just go through these pictures pretty quickly. We could always go back to them if you have questions. From the comprehensive plan amendment, right now all of this is industrial, the brown that you're seeing. The first part would change parcel, what you see A and B right here, from industrial to mixed-use flex, which allows C2 zoning while maintaining the industrial larger area. This creates the opportunity for commercial services to support the industrial development. And then from a zoning perspective, for the zone change, we have 2 different zoning requests. The commercial tract is intended, let me zoom in here, so A and B is to go from R1B and M2 to C2 commercial. And then the remaining, let me go back. So you can see where we have a lot of R1B, it would rezone it to the M2 zoning. So this land was all designated as R1B when it was annexed into the city by the default zoning. However, in the 2016 comprehensive plan, that's where the industrial designation came from. It was determined to have some industrial land in this portion of the city to provide some employment opportunities within the area. So this request is actually matching with the comprehensive plan for the majority. So Planning Services does recommend approval of the request to change the land use plan from industrial to mixed-use flex from approximately 2.7834 acres based on the following findings. Public infrastructure is adequate to provide for zoning districts allowed in the proposed mixed-use flex land use designation. The proposed mixed-use flex land use may provide services to existing industrial uses and future area uses anticipated with the 12th Street expansion, and 3 of the properties located at the intersection of 2 major streets. Let's see. And then Planning Services recommends approval of the request to change the zoning of approximately 2.7834 acres from R1B and M2 to C2, and approximately 63.83 acres from R1B to M2 based on the following findings. The proposed zoning is consistent with the land use component of the comprehensive plan as recommended to be revised. The existing and planned public infrastructure is generally adequate to provide for the uses allowed in the C2 and M2 zoning districts. The property meets all area and width requirements for the C2 and M2 zoning district, And the proposed C2 and M2 zoning is compatible with the surrounding area and other uses along a major thoroughfare, compatible with the existing surrounding area uses and future area uses anticipated after the 12th Street expansion. 11 notices were mailed. We have not received any returned.
Is the applicant or their representative here to speak on behalf of this item? Is anyone present that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Do any commission members have any questions? The public hearing on this item is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move that we recommend approval of the land use change in zoning based on staff findings.
Been a motion to recommend approval on all the items by Mr. Smith. That was seconded by Commissioner England. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing no more discussion, please poll the commission.
Ellis?
Yes.
England?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes. The next item on the agenda is item 8, Z-26-27. What is the city staff report and recommendation?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Z26-27 is a request to rezone approximately 0.82 acres from R1B Single Family Residence to O3 Office Limited Commercial. The property is located at the corner of North 18th Street and Gorman Avenue within the Sanger Heights Neighborhood Association and Council District 4. Here is the location map showing where the site lies. It does lie along the 17th, 18th, 19th area corridor, which also functions as a transition between residential neighborhoods and commercial activity closer to Waco Drive. Within this area, there is different zoning districts. We have the majority is R1B and then some C2 zoning. I'm sorry, this is the land use map. The land use designation does not need to be changed on this. It is one of the permitted zoning districts within the land use designation of urban residential. Sorry, I lost my spot here. From the zoning, here we go. Zoning, looking at compatibility, we have existing O3 within the area. In fact, directly across the street is existing O3, both directions. We also have some R3C in the area. So you can see that there is some transitioning going on along 18th Street. So O3 in general is intended to provide neighborhood servicing office uses while maintaining compatibility with surrounding residential development. And then here is what it will look like. Looking at the property, currently there are some non-conforming houses. They are platted lots, but the houses do not line up with the existing lot lines. So there are some other things that'll have to be worked out with development of this property, which is separate from the zone change request. So Planning Services does recommend approval of the request to change the zoning from R1B to O3 based on the following findings. One, the proposed zoning is consistent with the land use component of the comprehensive plan. Property fronts North 18th Street, which is classified as a minor arterial, thereby satisfying the comprehensive plan criterion that O3 zoning be located on a collector or higher classified roadway. Number 3, the public infrastructure will be adequate to provide for the uses allowed in the O3 district. The property meets all area and width requirements for the O3 zoning district, and there is O3 in the vicinity of the subject property. 12 notices were mailed. We did receive 2 back in opposition, and they were included in your report packet.
Is the applicant or the representative here to speak on behalf of this item? Please state your name and address for the record. From the podium, please. This is being recorded on video for posterity forever. No pressure. And the whole world needs to be able to find you.
Jeremy Fulbright, address 221 Rockford Road, Waco, Texas, 76712.
Go ahead.
Okay, so our plan is to basically transition this from R1B to O3 because we're going to set up sober living for more than one house, basically. We're gonna make this a sober living community, and it's in super high demand. There's so many people out here that, you know, just don't have houses or structured living in order to, you know, take it to that next level of sobriety. And we have a plan, we have rules and regulations in the structured environment. We just got through renovating one of the houses, looks beautiful. We have TVs on all the walls, we have couches, you know, and we have the right people in place to help manage the facility and get this, you know, change the face of Waco as far as sober living goes. You want to speak?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So my name is Sarah Pasley. My address is 2201 Morrow. I am the Director of Operations for what's going to be New Chapter Community. As we all know, Waco is like a black hole when it comes to recovery housing. There's only a couple here. I do know one that y'all have approved, which is the Manna House. And the Manna House has been very successful. And that's kind of what we're going for. I'm not gonna talk with my hands. Sorry. That's kind of what we're going for. But we just want to be bigger. And we want to continue the recovery here. We want to get the people off the streets, and we want to allow them to have a home to recover in with a structured environment, with accountability. Faith-based and recovery-based is the goal. That's it.
That's great. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Is anyone else present that would like to speak in favor of this item? Is anyone present that would like to speak in opposition to the zoning request? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mary Brinkerhoff. I live at 910 North 18th Street. It's directly adjacent to the property, one up 18th Street. So our property is, there's a fence between our property and this property. We have 6 children living in that house, ages 10 to 7 months. And we are just want to make sure that whatever's going in here, this sobriety house, has sufficient oversight and accountability for safety for children in the neighborhood. Background, this lot was previously occupied by some gentlemen of not complete capabilities, I believe, who were very pleasant neighbors. After that, it was empty, and then there were squatters in it at the beginning of the year, end of the last year, who were burning trash, which is not awful. And then there was a police, looked like a SWAT van that stopped by there with some shots fired at the end of January for a drug possession there. So we do want it to be occupied and occupied well, but we are very concerned, since we have children in the house next door, that if there are people coming in there who have come from troubled pasts or issues with sobriety, that there are sufficient oversight and accountability in place to protect those in the neighborhood, especially children. Thank you.
Thank you. And city staff, before we get too far down this road, we're not really supposed to know what the intended use is. The question before us is the zoning.
That's correct. So this is a zone change request to O3, so you'll need to consider all the uses that are allowed in O3. I will say the use the applicant talked about is what we call transitional shelter. It is a use that's in O3 as a use by special permit. So if they want to pursue that, there would be a second step to this that y'all would get to see in the future with a special permit application that would address all the concerns that the neighbor brought up.
At that point,
we can get
it's
into
more appropriate to discuss
Yeah.
the development itself. But
That's
right
correct.
now, we're not supposed to be.
Yeah, right now, you're just looking at the zoning change. Is it appropriate? Is the O3 appropriate for those properties?
If this were changed, that zoning would run with the land from here on.
That's correct. So that needs to be y'all's consideration is, do you think that O3 is an appropriate zoning? Because once it's changed, then it would allow anything that's permitted by right, regardless of their plans.
So if a sober living house, and I have some familiarity with those. If that were to leave that location, what else could go in there?
So O3 is a low-intensity mixed-use district, so it allows residential uses, low-density residential uses, office uses, and then limited commercial uses. Retail, but the hours are restricted, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It is a zoning district that's designed to be compatible with single-family areas, especially along collector streets, like 18th Street.
Kind of a service.
Yeah, more of a service-type zoning for the surrounding area. And that's why you see a lot of the O3 up and down 18th Street.
This may be a question for you all or for planning services or Mr. Fulbright. Is this the same property, I guess from last summer or last year, that had the 3 units, but he wasn't going to be able to rezone? And so we asked that he come, it's not that one? Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, thank you.
What's the residential density in O3?
So it allows a single-family duplex and townhouse.
It's probably a question of a special permit. I'm just curious if we do a special permit for transitional housing, does the density go up with that special permit?
No, so,
Limited to what's-
yeah, so typically on special permits for transitional housing like that, we'll put a cap on the number of residents, and then,
In no event, it wouldn't ever be more than what was allowed in the
Correct.
zoning
That's
density
correct.
by.
That's correct, yeah.
So does it have to change to O3 in order to get a special permit?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, the transitional shelter, as a consolidated complex would need the rezoning. Now, there would be some options for them because there's multiple residential units on those properties. There would be some options for them to operate them as individual, single-family residential without changing the zoning. But I think they want to have more of a consolidated campus-type shelter, transitional house. So that's why the zoning's needed.
Mr. Director, I'm still in opposition. Can we keep moving and then we'll come back to questions?
Yep.
What I'm going to do is call for more opposition and then give a chance for the applicant for a short rebuttal. Is there anyone present that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Would the applicant like to make a short rebuttal? It's fine if you do. Just keep in mind, we're not here to debate the structure itself and the development.
We're not here, okay. I just want to let her know that we do have a lot of that in place, cameras and everything. I'm a mother too, so I understand your questionings and your concerns. And I wouldn't bring something like this into the community if I didn't think it wasn't necessary. We need a place for people to be able to go to, more of a safe haven for addicts. Thank you.
Thanks for that. You might grab her out in the hallway. Yeah, cool. Very good. Okay, where are we? Anyone else? We're there. Do any commissioners have any questions? The public hearing on this item is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move we recommend approval based on staff findings.
Second.
There's been a motion to recommend approval by Commissioner Smith and seconded by Ms. Gibbons. Any other discussion on this motion? Please poll the commission.
Ellis?
Yes.
England?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes. The next item on the agenda is item 9. Laura, that one is withdrawn, is that correct?
So item number 9, or 29, I'm sorry, yeah. It's been a long
Item
night,
agenda,
guys.
item 9, Z-26-29.
Yes, 26-29. The applicant did submit a request to withdraw this item. However, unlike the annexation that was withdrawn, this item did not, it was too close to the meeting, we allow items to be withdrawn up to 5 days prior to the meeting. I believe we just got the request either yesterday or today, so you will have to vote on acceptance of the withdrawal.
We'll need to have a public hearing too.
Yes, that too.
Okay. This has been great tonight. This has just been a peach. Okay, but you're not doing the report, but I'm calling for the normal speaking part.
So, yeah, same thing.
Okay.
If y'all don't want to withdraw, then we'll do the full report.
I think I'm being punked tonight. This is ridiculous. My gosh. Okay. Is the applicant or their representative here to speak on behalf of this item? Okay. Is anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Okay. Questions? Am I calling for questions? No. Okay. Is there a motion?
Move that we approve the withdrawal.
Okay. There's been a motion by Commissioner Smith to withdraw and seconded by Commissioner Salome. Any discussion on the withdrawal? Please poll the commission.
Ellis? Yes. England?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes. The next item we're doing, I think, number 10, Z-26, no?
This is Z26-30 is
30.
also a request for withdrawal.
Oh, no. You're kidding me. Okay. Oh. Oh, yes, both of them. Oh, my goodness. Okay, public hearing, though. Okay, is the applicant here to speak on this item? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Any questions? Is there a motion?
Move that we approve the withdrawal.
Motion made by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Salome. Any discussion on the motion? Please poll the commission.
Ellis? Yes. England?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Salome? Yes. Smith?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes. The next item on the agenda is item 11, abandonment 26-06. What is the city staff report and recommendation?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, ABD 26-06 is a request to abandon approximately 0.038 acres of a 10-foot alley located behind the properties addressed as 3525, 3517, and 35, I'm sorry, both of those were, I'm going to butcher this, Carondelet Boulevard, and then 3512 Castle Avenue. Property is located in the Castle Heights Neighborhood Association in Council District 3. You can see in the bold or the solid yellow lines, this is the location of the alley to be abandoned. The same owner owns all of the adjacent tracts, the 3 parcels. Some images of the property. Again, the alley location, I'm going through these pretty quick, so feel free to ask questions later. Here's a survey of the alley. Again, the property owner owns all of the surrounding land in this case. There are no, there are no city utility lines located within the abandonment. There is an Encore. They have identified an existing electrical facility within the alley. Those facilities must be either relocated or be protected by a new utility easement. So we have put that as a condition. Staff does recommend approval of the abandonment request based on the following findings and conditions. Finding 1, that following abandonment, the property could be replatted with the adjacent lots under the same ownership. The abandonment of this tract will not negatively impact utility access for surrounding properties, and there will be no adverse impact on the surrounding street and alley system. Conditions, there's our standard condition that any easement shall be retained and recorded for any utilities discovered during development of the abandonment area, or utilities may be relocated at the developer's expense as coordinated with the appropriate utility provider. And number 2, the Encore power line shall be relocated or a new easement must be created before the abandonment of the right-of-way. Quitclaim deeds to transfer the property shall not be recorded until written confirmation is received from Encore stating that this condition has been satisfied. We did send out notices on this request and did not have any, 19 notices, and we did not have any returned.
Is the applicant here to speak on behalf of this item? Is anyone present that would like to speak in opposition of this item? Any commission members have any questions?
At the risk of slowing us down, is there a reason why the rest of the alley, I feel like normally we have abandonments, we have neighbors on the other side. I know this one hits the end of the property line, but are we gonna have a similar issue if they move down the street for the neighbors on abandoning the alley?
Some of the alley actually has been abandoned down here already. It'll probably just continue if the additional portions need to be abandoned. It's unused. There's no remnant of any alley there.
We'll expect to hear those in the coming months, I am sure. Someone will decide. Great, that was my only question.
Any other questions from the commission members? The public hearing on this item is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move to recommend approval based on staff findings and conditions.
Second.
Lozano? It's been a motion to recommend approval by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Lozano. Any discussion on the motion? Please poll the commission.
Ellis?
Yes.
England?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Lozano? Yes. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes. We're doing plats, Laura?
Yes, sir, we have
Okay,
three.
item number 12, subdivision plat 26-07. What is the city report?
Yes, this item is a request from Scott Engel, The Pines at Waco LLC, Chris McBride, The Pines at Waco LLC, Kirk Raymond, GLS Engineers, Surveyors, and Architects. This is a request for the preliminary plat of The Pines at Waco. Property is located within the city of Waco, a total area of 6.378 acres, 25 lots and 1 block. The project is located near the intersection of Spiegelville Road and Oak Road, just outside of the Highway 84 West Neighborhood Association boundary, Council District 5. Here is the plat. So based off of the review, you can see that there are some minor amendments that need to be made, corrections, administrative corrections. The lot sizes, as they are shown, do meet the existing zoning district of R1B. There is a note on the plat, and we have it addressed in our condition letter, that the intent of this plat is for duplexes. We suggested that, in fact, one of our conditions is that that note is removed unless the zoning is changed or a PUD is approved. But right now, the plat itself, the way it's laid, the lot sizes meets the R1 requirements. There is another item. They will have to either, it's more with the, I don't remember the, anyways, they're likely either be coming back for a subdivision variance for a standard, or they can address that requirement in their revisions. We gave them that option. So I'm not sure which course they're going to take on that yet. So all those conditions are addressed in the July 24th review letter. Staff recommends approval of this with those conditions of that July 24th review letter.
Is the applicant or the representative here to speak on behalf of this item? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Scott Engel, representing the Pines at Waco LLC, P.O. Box 7920, Waco.
And I'm Chris McBride, representing the Pines Waco LLC, 250 Terrace Mountain, 76712.
Thanks, and we're just here basically to answer any questions you might have. Thank you to staff for all the help they've given us so far.
That's right.
You saw this letter with the conditions?
Yes, sir.
And you're good. Okay. Any questions for our applicant? Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Is anyone else present that would like to speak in favor of this item? Is anyone present that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Do any commission members have any questions? Public hearing on this item is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move that we approve with conditions.
Second.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Smith to approve with conditions and is seconded by Commissioner Givens. Any discussion about the motion? Please poll the commission.
Ellis?
Yes.
England?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes, the next item on the agenda is item 13, subdivision 26-08. What is the staff recommendation and report?
This is a request from Blackland Surveying LLC for preliminary plat of May Springs Elmont subdivision, lots 1 through 10, block 1. Property is located in the ETJ with a total area of 10.262 acres. Again, 10 lots, 1 block. Project is located east of I-35 on Old Dallas Road between Elmont and Ross. This plat is quite a straightforward plat. The lots meet the size requirements for septic systems. They're also served by, I don't remember the name of it and I can't read it.
Leroy Tours.
Tours, yes.
Harold Water Supply Company.
Yes, so no city utilities even on this property. So just some very minor administrative corrections that they have to meet. And those were all addressed in a July 14th review letter, which staff recommends approval of conditions as noted in that letter.
Is the applicant here to speak on behalf of this item? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Do any commission members have any questions? The public hearing on this item is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move that we approve with conditions.
Second.
Smith, I'm giving it to Mr. England. There's been a motion to recommend approval by Mr. Smith and seconded by Commissioner England. Any discussion on the motion? Please poll the commission.
Ellis?
Yes.
England?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes. The next and last item on the agenda is subdivision 26-09. What is the staff report and recommendation?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a two-part request. We have the preliminary plat of lots 1 and 2, block 1, Old Marlin Edition. And with the request, we have a request for a subdivision variance from the Waco Subdivision Ordinance, Appendix B, Section 5201B, regarding utilities, public utilities onto the property. This property is within the city of Waco, 12.32 acres, and again, 2 lots, 1 block. Maybe about a year ago, we saw another similar request just to the east of this property, a request for septic system. The current city, lost my mouse. Current city sewer line is on the opposite side of the railroad and the highway. So even though it's within a certain distance, it's in the city, we require city sewer. Unique about this situation, however, is that on the property, there exist 2 homes and 2 septic systems on the existing property. So they want to create a lot for each home and each septic system. So it's an existing situation. We're not bringing in or creating a new septic system within the property. We do have a couple conditions, however, with the variance. So we are recommending approval with conditions that we feel like there is extraordinary hardship on this property based on the difficulty of being able to get the sewer to this property. But to protect future use of the property, any alteration or replacement of the existing septic system will require full compliance with the Waco-McLennan County Public Health District's regulations. Along with the final plat, the applicant must provide documentation from the Public Health District demonstrating compliance with all OSSF regulations. Final plat shall establish lot lines consistent with their requirements, including minimum lot size standards and permitted location of existing septic systems and associated components. So those property lines as proposed between the 2 lots may shift a little bit between preliminary and final plat based on OSSF permitting requirements. Further subdivision of the property that increases the number of lots will require the extension of the public sewer main to serve the new subdivision. And the property owner shall sign and record with McLennan County Clerk's Office an affidavit acknowledging that it'll be able to continue to be served. I'm not going to read all that. And then, oh, I'm missing a slide. Hold on, let me get my report. Bear with me.
You got it?
I think we're missing one. We have 5 conditions. The property shall be platted as only 2 residential lots. We have that one in the report as well. And then for the plat itself, we are recommending approval with conditions. Again, the conditions are going to be based on the July 14th review letter, and most of those were administrative.
Okay, is the applicant here to speak on behalf of this item? Is anyone in opposition here to speak on this item? Any commission members have any questions?
Can we move on both, or do we have to have the separate motion for each? Since it's a plat, I don't know, we just do one. You can do one. Great.
Okay. The public hearing on this item is now closed. Is there a motion for both?
Yes, move that we approve the subdivision variance with conditions based on staff findings and conditions in the report, and that we also would, for the plat, approve with conditions.
Second.
Lozano? Yeah. There's been a motion to approve both items, the preliminary plat and the on-site sewage variance, and seconded by Commissioner Lozano. Any discussion on this motion? Please poll the commission.
Ellis?
Yes.
England?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Lozano?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Embry?
Yes. That concludes the agenda items. Are there anything, other fun announcements from our planning director?
No, just thank you for your service. I know it was a long time. Yes, thank you so much.
For dinner, and thanks to our officers in the back who keep us safe.
Something you know is going to.
I'm gonna,
Use them today.
almost. It's 9:14. This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.